Hello and welcome to another Ben 10 video. Slightly different. I'm voicing over while I record the audio, and this is a showcase, so there's not going to be any showing you the process of making this. It's going to be me showing you what is different and the explanation behind how I've done it. Whoop. So here is XLR8. You can see he's already getting into some nicer poses. He's had a fair few changes. I initially didn't plan on making as many changes as I did, which is why I didn't film any of it, and then as I got into the process, it was too late to start filming because it would have been weird, so I figured I'd just leave it to a showcase. So here's a 1.5, he's not had a full new build like Diamond Head did, but this is the other body that came with the Lightning Collection Eclipta 2 pack. I can't remember her name, I want to say it's Andromeda, but I'll put it on screen so you know which character I'm talking about and which figure. Also, just going to work from top down and show you all things that are different. So with the head, obviously it's the exact same head that I used on the last figure because it is that same head. Literally just taken the heads from it, scrapped the old body. You can see there I've had to rotary tool out because it's a much bigger ball joint in here, so I've had to use the hot glue method to create a new socket in there. And it works very well, it's a bit more difficult to remove, but it pops on easy enough. I'm not running into issues here. Moving down, obviously I've now got the actual new torso, and this body mold works a lot nicer. Had a lot of people tell me not to use a female body, that I shouldn't have used a female body to begin with. I disagree. I think the female body is ideal for XLR8's proportions and his shaping. I think what I should have done is spent more time working on the chest on the last one. I think I didn't take into account the side view or the side profile. I just looked at big boob needs to be removed. And didn't really take into account the proportioning from other perspectives. I have done that with this one. There were less chest to work with on this body mold because it was a realistic person, not a comic female. And you can see this works much nicer. I flattened the chest out correctly this time, so you've got an actual muscular physique. Let me move these arms out of the way so you can see what I'm talking about. You can see you've got what looks like an actual muscular male chest now, where you've got the pecs coming out and they swoop in from the armpit rather than from out here creating a boob. They come in from the armpit, which is obviously much more natural to a male's physique. I've also left the back a bit so you've got that triangular shape of the lats, and I've squared the shoulders down, which works much nicer. You can clearly see it's not just female now. It's androgynous, which is how his physique looks anyway, so I think this has come out exactly how I wanted it to. I could have taken the figure I already had, sanded the boobs down more, and added these elbow spikes, and I would have had essentially the same aesthetic look that I have now, but I wanted a bit more function. So I've obviously now got these butterfly joints here, which work much nicer. Well, they work much nicer because I didn't have any to begin with, and very good for a running character. I think it goes without saying that any athletic character could do with butterfly joints. I feel like all figures should have butterfly joints, but especially an athletic character that uses their arms so much like XLR8 does. Obviously the same kind of diaphragm joint that Mania had anyway, but has a little bit more range because I rotary tooled out some of the plastic in there. And then you've obviously got the ab crunch down here as well. Doesn't get a whole lot forwards from stationary, but it's enough to make a good difference, and you get a decent range back as well. So much more articulation in this torso, and obviously because I've put more attention to the sanding, a much better physique. I think that's quite clear just by looking at it. So very happy with this new actual torso. Obviously the elbow spikes are new as well. I made these while I was making forearms and just set them aside and never glued them on. So you can see the glue's gone a little bit lumpy. I'm not too bothered, it's not immediately noticeable. But one thing I did purposefully that I do want to point out because it was quite difficult to get correct, is I made sure that this was sanded at the correct angle, so it sits at a 45-degree angle coming off from the elbow. You can see it's not perfectly straight with that elbow, but obviously it couldn't be perfectly straight, otherwise it'd run into the arm. So when you bend it, obviously you get that full in line with the elbow, and even if you bend it all the way, it still has a flow to it. It doesn't jut out, it doesn't look out of place, it looks organic. So much happier with those. I think these are a massive change that work really nicely for the figure. And then the legs I've changed as well. The only downgrade I've made to this figure are these pins, which I could easily fix with a bit of black milliput at some point in the future. Not a big deal, doesn't bother me personally. This is why I've changed the legs out. Could I have achieved this with the McFarlane technique that I've used before? Absolutely I could have done, it's something I thought about, but when I had this figure lying in my fodder, I thought I may as well just take the legs as well, because having this option for a character that has extended legs like this, so helpful, like unbelievably useful. You can see it does just get into nicer poses anyway now. Just having this extra option for mobility works really nicely. And you can see it's much easier to pose as well. Like you get into much better running positions with this. Obviously from the original video where I had the tail coming out at like a 90-degree angle, I've changed it to kind of flow with the spine more. And the benefit of like aesthetics is obvious, it looks more natural, but it also means I don't have to use the stand every time I want to pose this character. He can now actually just be posed, you know, like with his tail as his kickstand, which again, so much more helpful. But yeah, that's pretty much the overhaul of what I've done to him. I've even used the same Omnitrix, I've removed the other one and put it on here, so these are all the original 3D prints, except for the black section of these feet. The front section that's blue is the original leg, the back is new. I broke these removing them, so I 3D printed new ones. Couldn't be bothered to go and repaint like the actual feet, so I cut it and just super glued the original parts back on. Also want to point out these arms, very clearly these are like the Mania arms, they're the pinless ones, are the ones I made originally. This connection, getting like these arms into this body, so easy. They, by some like stroke of luck, are the exact same peg size. So I removed the old arms, plugged these in, no hassle at all. Exact same pegs. Wonderful coincidence there, because the ankles weren't, I had to change these out. I had to add super glue into the joint in here to thicken it, because obviously these are designed to fit the Mania body mold, or like Marvel Legends female feet, which apparently aren't the same as other Hasbro females, so I've had to add some super glue to thicken the joint so that they're not just like wobbly. I also used some baking soda just to add some thickener to it. But yeah, there's the modifications that I've made. Let me know what you guys think. I'm very happy with how this guy's turned out. I'll put him on a rotating base now so you guys can have a little look at him while I talk about some other stuff. So at this point you'll probably realise just how loud this turntable is. It's quite frustrating, it's not a quiet one. But I'm going to take this time to tell you that there are more items in my Etsy shop now. I've done another restock. So if you did want the kits to be able to make this yourself, obviously using the Mania body mold ideally because that's what these parts were designed for, you can go and do this, obviously using the techniques I've just told you about, the modifications that I made. They are now available, so are the Stinkfly sets and the Forearms heads, and maybe I'll release some Stink Arms heads if you plan on getting both. But yeah, I've done a huge restock, so anything you want that I didn't have in stock at some point in the last couple of weeks should now be in stock again, except for the grey matter figures. I don't have time to redo them. I did 8 of them and it took me an entire week to get through the 8 of them. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, let me know in the comments what you think of these repairs, upgrades, fixes. Let me know what you think of the 1.5. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video, which should be Ripjaws, as long as the actual parts I need for him arrive, which they haven't yet, hence why I've done this video instead. But thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.